This is the final report of a seed project funded by the University of Miami, the Office of the Provost. The overall goal of the program was to explore new ways in which mixed reality in general and the Magic Leap headset in particular could be used to enrich educational or research endeavors both within the U and beyond. Our project was called South Florida Mixed Reality Field Trips. This video will give a brief overview of the concept and a short demo of the application itself. So many academic divisions within UM regularly conduct field trips as part of their curriculum. It may seem obvious, but very quickly, just to be clear, I want to explain what do we mean by a field trip. Here's one example that geologists at UM have conducted for many years, investigating features of the Miami Oolite, which is the limestone found near the coast in Palm Beach and Broward and Miami-Dade counties. The trip is comprised of multiple stops along a high elevation feature known as the Atlantic Ridge. The picture in the lower right shows an outcrop at stop number 1. It's important to note that there is an extensive guidebook for this trip compiled over the years. Underwater features are part of some trips as well, such as this one to see damage to the Florida Reef Tract caused by Hurricane Irma. Being able to participate in such a trip is a special benefit of the facilities and the location of UM, but conducting such a trip is expensive and, in this case, temporarily limited. You can't conduct this trip year after year because the features become obscured over time. Mixed reality could enable future students to travel back in time to experience this trip as it was during a specific moment. Shipwrecks are a third type of South Florida field trips. In contrast to the earlier examples of trips to see natural features, visiting shipwrecks allows us to learn about maritime history and cultural heritage. The important point to make with these examples is that regardless of their subject matter, they all have common aspects. First, multiple sites are linked by a common theme. And second, supplementary educational materials such as guidebooks, maps, species ID guides, and so forth are available. The overall goal of our project is to link the experience of the sites, the experience of being at the sites, with the educational material in a dynamic way through the use of mixed reality. So we envision two fairly distinct methods or modes of interaction, which could be beneficial for mixed reality field trips. We're implementing these in 2 project phases. In phase 1, the goal is to bring the sites to the viewer. In other words, we want the student, wherever they may be, to interact with virtual copies of the sites and the supplementary material for each site using their Magic Leap headsets. This is primarily a VR approach, a virtual reality approach. It provides a richer experience than flat photographs, maps, or texts. It allows users to explore the space at their own pace. It provides accommodations for those who might not be able to participate otherwise, for example, those who can't scuba dive, and would be an excellent platform for outreach. Also, something we had not envisioned at the beginning of this work, but is clearly relevant now, is that virtual field trips may be the only way to experience some of these sites in an era of social distancing and remote learning. In phase 2, we envision bringing the Magic Leap headsets into the field as part of the field trip to enrich interactions in real time. This is primarily an augmented reality experience. One example might be to overlay interpretations directly on outcrops as users see them. For example, shown here with an example of cross-bedding, you would illustrate it with lines drawn on the rock itself to help users understand what the lesson is. Our preliminary test with this, however, determined that developing Magic Leap applications for use outdoors in unstructured natural lighting, particularly the bright South Florida sunshine, was still quite a challenge. Therefore, we've decided for now to focus on phase 1 of the project and to illustrate the efficacy of this approach with 3 examples. One site will focus on terrestrial outcrops, a second one on coral reefs, and a third on shipwrecks. The idea is to illustrate the potential and to build a framework that would be easy for any UM department, instructor, or course to create and embed content for their own use. The 3 examples we'll show in this demo are 3D datasets that were captured using modern photogrammetric techniques. These are also available for interactive exploration on my website, which is actually an interesting exercise to compare what these look like in a traditional 2D browser versus using the 3D head site. So this is a demonstration highlighting the actual pilot version of the application. After scanning the room and placing the model in your space, the first thing the user encounters is this image of South Florida. The locations of each stop on the field trip are shown as circular icons, which expand to show the site name when hovering over each icon with the control ray. For starters, let's look at the coral reef site.
This site is located in the Dry Tortugas National Park, near Fort Jefferson. Water depth at this location is about 10 feet. The most striking feature here is a large thicket of Acropora cervicornis, also known as staghorn coral. There are also 2 colonies at this location of a related species in the same genus, Acropora palmata, known commonly as elkhorn coral.
So a description has been prepared for each site, which by default appears as text in a pop-up box and a voiceover audio. These are user-controlled settings. Audio can be turned off, for example. Interacting with the site can be done by moving closer or further away, walking around the model, or rotating the model to view it at different angles.
Several large colonies of another Caribbean reef builder called Orbicella annularis, the boulder star coral, are also present at this site.
The models have more detail than can be shown when viewed at their overall extent. So we developed a way to zoom to a higher resolution by clicking on hotspots. In this case, to inspect a thicket of Acropora cervicornis, staghorn coral. Like the model of the full site, there is informational text, and the model can be rotated for easy inspection from all angles.
Due to their complex spatial structure, thickets are important habitat for many reef fish and other benthic invertebrate animals. Note that, on one side of the thicket, some branches have broken off and are lying on the seabed. This type of fragmenting is common for staghorn coral. If the fragmented pieces are not buried by sand too rapidly, they will grow and propagate the thicket.
To exit the detail model, click back, which brings you back to this individual site. And then to exit a given site, we can click home, which takes you back to the overview map. Next, let's look at the Montgomery Botanical Center, which is the site of our terrestrial outcrop.
This site is part of the Miami Oolite sand body, which extends from Fort Lauderdale in the north to Homestead in the south. The overall length, or strike extent, for the Miami Oolite is over 100 kilometers, whereas the dip width averages 10 to 15 kilometers. This deposit of oolitic sand was laid down 125,000 years ago when sea level was approximately 6 meters higher than present, sufficiently high to flood the majority of South Florida, such that the peninsula
So the interface here is the same as the coral example, with the ability to pop up information about notable features in the site, and also to rotate the model to view it from different angles.
This part of the outcrop contains excellent examples of well-sorted, cross-bedded oolitic grainstone facies. Cross-bedding is prevalent in the high energy of the barrier bar, whereas bioturbated facies are dominant.
It's actually remarkable how much detail is retained in this model and how much you can see when you get right up close to look at it.
A line of small caves is visible on the front of the outcrop. So-called wave-cut notches, these caves were cut by waves breaking on the outcrop, likely shortly after sea level began to drop approximately 100,000 years ago, as the outcrop was gradually exposed by the retreating coastline.
Returning to the overview map, we'll now take a look at the site for the wreck of the Half Moon. The idea here is the same, although we did experiment with a few animated design elements, such as the graphic here at the start of the sinking ship. We'll see if users find
Half
value
Moon
in that.
lies embedded in white sand on a shallow shoal off Key Biscayne, listing slightly to port, bow pointing southward. No traces of her masts are left, and the starboard side has been broken outward, probably the result of a larger vessel colliding with the wreck.
Once you're in the model,
The
however,
yacht's
it's the
internal
same
framing is
concept
readily
as the other
apparent, as
sites.
are the
You can
forward anchor
view
chain
and
fittings and the
rotate the
bowsprit
model.
collar.
There are also detailed, higher resolution
Over the
subsections of the
years, the
model that
once
can be
proud
viewed
Kaiser
by
Cup
clicking on
racing
one of the
yacht slowly
hotspots.
collapsed and settled into the shoal,
Within a
becoming
given
entombed
hotspot,
over time.
there
It
are
is now
more
home to many
hotspots
species
with
of
extra
tropical marine
information.
life, including fish, invertebrates, sponges, and corals.
So here, for example, we pull up a higher resolution version model of the bow, and
The bow
then
is the forward
get
end of
additional
the ship.
information
Several features are
about
still
specific
visible on the
features.
Half Moon. A portion of the deck remains near the bow, which is a testament to the longevity of teak wood in the marine environment.
A final point to make is that we expect eventually to integrate many sites from numerous contributors, so there's a clear location with the app to give credit and citations as needed. In closing, I'll summarize that we have a working demo for phase one of our project. We plan to use it this semester to get feedback and to refine it. And as you can see here, we've identified potential end users both within and outside the University of Miami. Looking forward, we hope to continue to refine and add content to the phase one platform, as well as to begin to implement phase two of this project. Please contact me with any questions. And finally, thanks to Magic Leap and the Provost Office for supporting this work. And of course, thanks to the excellent project team who helped us get as far as we have in just a very short time. Thank you for your attention.